Peace, family. This is your boy Youlle. It is Sunday, September 11th, 2021. Correction, September 12th, 2021. How is everybody doing? So, chilling in the garage. It's partly cracked, and I've been wanting to reach out to you. So, I'm sitting out in my garage. I got a Heineken, partly sipped. I got my cigarette sitting on my little bar stool, little here. Boom. And I know some people were like, hey, you always talk about your Jeep. Well, this is my Jeep. This is my Chariot. Divine blessing. Roll in. And I got to do some work on it because I had a boo-boo. Got to redo my top. Messed around because it's elevated. It scraped and tore the soft top in a couple patches, and I ain't feeling that. Got the replacement in the box. I just got to do it. And I've been kind of dragging my feet. But I hope you're doing all right. I got to ask that. I hope wherever you are, you're okay. We're in the midst of the pandemic. I ain't got to remind you, please, no matter what your position is, please keep this in mind. The requirement is to sustain your mortality. Do what is best. However, I'm not going to be a hypocrite because I've already been inoculated. And being a vet, oh yeah, vet. What's that say? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Loyalty is always there to the grave. I've got so much floating in me from deploying. It's just another shot. But I also have come to know one thing too. The most important thing you can do as an individual, as a human being, is to keep your stress level down. Why? Because we're talking neurological connection. And if the mind's not right, the body's not going to react right. So, make sure that you don't stress. Make sure you keep your happiness at the optimum level. Do not sweat the small stuff. If it does not anticipate, enhance, fortify your life, you don't need it. That is why it's so important, family, to be transparent, to know your foundation, to speak your truth, and to always discern. Now, this is why I'm telling you this. Now, in 2021, and I say this with sincerity, as a community, in a town near you, in a city near you, in a state near you, we have not been so ever fragmented in an era than now. That is why it is so imperative that you fortify, but also acknowledge what's important to you. To always stay transparent to what needs to be repaired. To have the courage to be yourself, because what's at stake is not compromise. What's at stake is your integrity, your character, who and what makes you. How is it in 2021, after all that has been played out, all that has been shown, from 5G protests to BLM to LGBTQ to political stances to this one and that one pulling the proverbial mask. We are given this to process, to digest, and filter what matters most. And unfortunately, there are some kind of taking a hypochondriacal position. That is why we live in a world where it is very imperative to fact check what has been conveyed. Why? We're talking about you. We're talking about the things that matter most. So, with that being said, in 2021, September, why is there such pushback when it comes to happiness? Why is there such a division when it comes to understanding relationships? Why? I tell you why. Because things that are being conveyed goes against the philosophies that have been put out socially. The dynamic of what relationship based off of interpretation is not validated through fact. Well, how's that fact, Youlle? Your heart. Because anything that makes you feel safe, that brings peace, which also empowers who you are from the core level, fear does not exist. So why now? You got a lot of people pissed off. There's a lot of miscues and misunderstandings being spewed out in society when all that matters truly is what does happiness look like? Who am I talking to? What does happiness look like to you? How can today's society understand what happiness looks like when the interpretation has been ill-advised or fragmented, or more or less giving the instructions of figuring it out without some type of mentorship? See, at one time, you had your elders. There was a level of respect, even though it was interpreted as do as I say, not as I do. It was still from a position of love. People ain't talking to each other nowadays. Why? People want to have a reckless abandonment because of insecurity, but they wonder why they keep getting left holding the bag when all that was needed was trust. Well, Joe, how can I trust if I can't have a dialogue? How can I understand what I need when no one is being able to tell me? You would know if you discerned. But see, the average person nowadays doesn't have a connection with themselves. And see, let me get this correct, because a lot of people get this misconstrued. There is a difference between being religious compared to spiritual. See, anybody can be religious. Religious means pattern. Spiritual means connection. You are what you attract. So if you're seeing nothing but innuendos and untruths, trauma and discord, first, that is nothing but a reflection of your state of mind. Did you hear me? Did you hear me? You're not the victim. You never was. But see, those who have gained access to your circle have gotten access to you to a point where you feel sub-safe. That means you're going through the flow because there's still doubt there. They know this. And they hope you don't realize this. Because the moment you authentically realize this and embrace this, life as they once knew, gaining access to you, changes. Now let's talk about spiritual. There are going to be people that are going to tell you and use the debate of, well, if there was a spiritual connection, why is there so much calamity? I'll tell you. One, you know what a loss represents? It is a impact to the environment that feels it. So we'll say, hypothetically, a loved one is cut short. We'll say a child. Right? Child's life, mortality is cut short. But being the connection of what the child represents, if there was toxicity going on in that said child's life, because of what that child represents, now that child is a reminder of what not to do. They become the illustration of change. They're the pivot. Now, every individual has free will. Just as the term of insanity is constantly doing the same behavior, expecting a different outcome. If, same scenario, said environment remains, said child that was cut short, message was not received, no change was learned from. Well, guess what? The same energy endures. See, let this sink in. A child, an animal, both have conscience, but they're born in the purest form that they represent. Why? Because everything that they're exhibited or taught is a reflection of the environment that it's in. Rewind it. You heard me. So, let me spin the wheel. What do you think happens to children that go through life having to navigate life without protection? Some make it through, but the exterior is bruised. It is battered. It is scarred. And unfortunately, the wounds that have the most impact are not seen. It is not in vain. Society would want you to think so. Like, oh man, they can't catch a break. That's crazy. But what you're witnessing is, on a spiritual level, you have those, demonically, that have failed. That child becomes the catalyst of what's to be. And they can't afford that. So, everything from the kitchen sink, these soup coolers are not working, are thrown at you. If you're in the family dynamic, you pick up the brunt of the environment because children are filters of the environment. So, put that to the side. Hot topic today, or now, is relationships. You have the great divide where folks are not talking about commitment. They're talking about scarcity and misunderstanding. And I say this with all humility because when you discern and you are spiritual, you are shown. That doesn't mean speak on it, but you know what to do because it's part of your purpose. And I spoke on this back in 2012. I actually began my channel talking about failed relationships. Yeah, I know I got 1,000K in videos because I've been talking over a decade for the intended heart and tender mind. You are not supposed to spend another day emotionally feeling torn. You are not crazy. What is being required is you have work to do. Who am I talking to? Some of you have been shown the illustration that you must use your physicality to booster up your insecurity because you're just holding on for dear life. You're not alone. You never was. But unfortunately, there are going to be those that you could actually write down verbatim what's to come. They're going to still do what they do only to find out in the intended time and moment, unfortunately, they were wrong. Why? Why, Gerald? I've got my youth. I've got my vitality. I'm sitting on this gold mine, but I can't find love. Who am I talking to? You know why you can't find love? Because you don't love yourself. It's not that you don't want to. You never saw the example of what it was. Yes, you got the breadcrumbs. Yes, you got the marginal. Yes, unfortunately, them sacred tears were the price. Those moments that did not make sense. But you said, I'm going to go with it this one time and hopefully it'll make sense. You called it blind faith. No, it wasn't blind faith. You were being deceived. Because it was from a moment that there was no logic there. It was emotionally based. But the contradiction through it all is before what said happened, there was a precursor. You heard something. May have been a chance meeting or something that was disseminated through the things you like. Maybe music that wrapped all focus and attention to the point time froze. Who am I talking to? There's always a reprieve for those who wish to ground their feet. Because deep down inside, all you've ever wanted was peace of mind. Who am I talking to? If you could bottle it up, take it with you, you would try to live off of that by itself. But you know there's a requirement. So let's go back to what I just said. All your relationships, they fall short. To the point it has gotten to test your psyche. You ain't crazy, king, queen. You don't understand why every time you methodically give it a go, you fall short. You even try to outwit the scenarios because the faces change. The landscape changes, but the outcome is always intense. It's because there's something better waiting. Always have, always shall be. Somebody's saying, what is this fool talking about? But I got your attention, don't I? See, what's at stake is, or what's being held hostage, is the person you can be. Yes. Oh, I got your attention now, huh? The person that was given natural gifts and talents, waiting to be birthed to the world. You know this. You have a natural knack. It was proverbially sealed over your life the moment you took your first breath. Now, I get it. We live in a world where 1 out of 3 people don't have a spiritual connection. And it's not that they don't want to have a spiritual connection. They don't understand how it comes about. But take a step back. Think back to the moment. We'll say Christmas. You were a child. And there was that one thing. I know I'm talking to somebody right now. Is that one thing you've always wanted, even now in your adulthood. If someone happens to materialize that in front of you, you're going to be shook. Because you're going to be like, how do they know? You are the gift. You always was. So why is there so much drama in your life? Why is there so much setback going on? Why is there so much calamity? Why is it that you feel proverbially you got to jump through 1,001 hoops just to feel accepted? What is being asked of you is, do you really want it? Because see, superficially, you're not a chameleon. You never was. It's just like going to the store, going online, buying XYZ, hoping it will change you. But what's required of change is here. Here. It's in your brain? No. Your mindset. That's no different than if I turned to you and I said, hey, I'm going to give you this dollar bill. Hold on to it. Understand the value of this dollar bill. Time progresses and I come back and I've got a check. and it says $1,000,000. If you don't see the value in that $1 bill, you're going to squander it. So how are you going to value that check that says $1,000,000? What I'm describing is you. You're priceless. You always was. So let's get to the nitty-gritty. How is it in 2021 there is an abundance of people that long to have someone that understands them? You have tried social media. You have tried the occult. You've even tried unconventional tactics to figure that out, and it still leaves you holding the bag. You know why? Somebody saying, get on with it. I want to know. Get on with it. I feel your energy. See, it's like this. Nothing pure can be rewarded. So in other words, how can you demand of a relationship loyalty, commitment, everlasting growth if you don't possess it within yourself first? Did you hear me? How can you require someone to love you unconditionally if you don't love yourself first? Know your value, know your worth. You realize how many people are deceived? That's why even the late, great Biggie Smalls put the song out, More Money, More Problems. Why is it in 2021 you have so many people that are financially well off and their lineage have no worries, but they're the most paranoid folks you'll ever come to know? Is it because they didn't value that first dollar they were given? Or they weren't told that the person in the mirror looking back was priceless? So, if you want love, if you're tired of struggling, if you're tired of dealing with the daily bullshit, yeah, I said it. If you're tired of feeling like you're a piece of meat or being just marginalized, you got work you got to do. There's no cheat code when it comes to your life. One foot in front of the other. Commit to it. But if you do that with consistency, with authenticity, when you decide to look over your shoulder, you'll be amazed how far you've come. Now, I'll be honest with you. We attract what we are. So, if you're going to bed, but you don't feel restful, you don't know what it means to slumber, and when you wake up, it feels like your brain never turned off, look at your circle, including your loved ones. Because unfortunately, your environment, the people that have access to you, are a representation of your mentality. Who am I talking to? But usually how it plays out is when you need them, you can't get them. But when they want you, you're always there. Why? Notice the duality in that? No. Work is required. Now, here's my $1,000,000 question to you. As the years increase, especially in the female community, you feel you have to do more than you did yesterday. If you look at 2021 and you base where you are in 2021 compared to where you were same day, September 11th, oh, I'm sorry, 12th, 2017. Is there anything positive play out? Or are you just towing the line? Who was there? Because now we got to talk about LOVE. See, for some this might be disappointing, but I'm going to tell you something. The people that are in your circle are only there because you're entertainment. You're a distraction from their day to day. Because if it wasn't the case, and they truly had your best interest, why haven't they told you what you needed to know? You can't use the excuse, I don't want to hurt you. I'm not making light of it. Think about it. Because the people that truly are your friends, I guarantee you, first, they've tried to have this discussion with you time and time again. Then they got to a point where they said, I love you too much to watch you hurt. And rather see you go through what you're going through, just know I'm on the other side. You understand what they were saying? They love you so much, they would take on the sacrifice of not watching you come through it. Or they'd rather not be in your life and ensure that you smile again than to stay constant and watch you be in pain. Do you understand what I'm describing? That's a friend. A friend unconditionally loves you. They want you to win. They're not tearing you down. But if you're not listening, and they will turn every stone because they see your value and worth, then they get to a point where they have to accept where you are. They still pray for you. They still hope you're okay. But they don't want to stand in your way and be a hypocrite to watch you sabotage yourself. And what happens? Oh, there's plenty of people in the cheap seats waiting to take up that space and tell you what you don't need to distract you from where you should be. Oh yeah, they're there. You know why they're there? Like I said, they're there to distract you from you. Because the moment that you decide to commit to you, life as well as access is forever closed. So tell me, once again, you don't deserve to see your smile. I heard somebody said that they were raised not to smile. What? A person's smile is like a diamond. There's never two that are the same. But a smile can silence a room because of its uniqueness and its rarity. Who am I talking to? Queen, I love you. That's why I do it. King, you deserve better. So I'll say this to both of you. King, if there's someone in your life and you cannot have the conversation that is needed to enhance not only your life, but theirs in tandem, they ain't supposed to be there. Have the courage. Do not compromise your respect or dignity. Walk away. She will never tell you that. But at the end of the day, sometimes you got to get out of their way to claim your own. Who am I talking to? And deep down inside, time has a way of humbling all souls. And she'll respect you. You may not never hear that, but deep down inside, she knows who you are. You were the one. Queen, stop listening to your friends to try to convince you that everything that you are supposed to do is by your actions. No, that is a lie. I've said this since 2011. I say this in 2021. It is not your responsibility to seek out your mate. Your responsibility is to prepare for them. And if you have done the work, truly done the work, in the intended time and moment, they shall be revealed. You will know. Time and space will seem like it don't exist when you're in their space. They will always inspire you. Just as the man can build, it is the woman that brings the contrast to what is created. See, society wants you to do it on your own at the price of your vitality. And let me tell you something. Even though the generations have come and gone, one thing stands true. If a man has integrity about himself and he seeks you out, he bases his mate or companion in the pretense of he will present them to his elders. So that would be his grandmother, great-grandmother, great-grandfather, someone in that lineage. And if they're not willing to stand before them to introduce you to them, they are not the one. Lastly, society wants you to abandon your consciousness. They don't want you to remotely know what discernment is. That is why social media is so in flux and you can find anything on the World Wide Web. Why? Because you're distracted. They want that. But just know this. What's at stake for the one? He has a spiritual foundation. Like I said, there is a difference between being religious and spiritual. Spiritual is connection. To connect. Connect to what? When a man acknowledges a higher power. And I say this loosely too, because there's been always a distraction of what is the Most High's true name. No mortal knows that. No matter what the doctrine tells you, no mortal knows that. And I'm going to break it down. The one person that had the opportunity to know was Moses. He went to Mount Sinai. He shrouded his face after the bush was burned. The bush was burned to show an illustration of, yeah, I'm real. You know that. You feel this. In layman's term, you will respect the great I am. So, with that being said, the one person that had the opportunity to ask, what is your name? Don't you think he would have been afforded that? He was not. And if he was, guess what? Based off of interpretation, what was conveyed, the human species could not interpret. So maybe it was conveyed in frequency. Maybe it was to a tone that could not be heard by the naked ear. So, with that being said, could that be allegory? Now, I've always believed this. When the fool realizes there is a God, the earth will shake like a bell. Has she not been shaken? We can go back as far as Katrina. We can go back before that. Has she not? What do you think these natural disasters are all about? We're in the midst of a pandemic. Why do you think they exist? Everybody plays a fool sometimes. Now, let me bring this home. Queen, society is conveyed to you to think like a man, to act like a woman. This is no knock on Mr. Harvey, but I have to use it. Queen, you've always been the flower, not the weed. Your job is to remain virtuous and blossom and allow through time your petals will open. Just like a flower. You can't force a flower to open itself up when it's not ready. And that is why every fragrance is different. Talking about you. But society says, no, I want you to speedball through your life. I want you to disrespect yourself because you think because they do it, it's acceptable. It don't work like that, Queen. Slow down. Love yourself more. Why do you think they created the term sabbatical for a reason? Who am I talking to? They've tried to convey to you, oh, if you focus on your sexuality, you'll keep a man. No, you won't. You'll have his attention for a moment, but you'll never have his respect. Now, can you turn it back around? You sure can. You can. How do you get the relationship of your dreams? Do the work. It starts when you take ownership and accountability of where you are today, where you've been, and where you envision to go. But place the Most High first. See, this is what pisses off a lot of people because they don't like that word. But remember this. before you were blessed with that beautiful feature called your body, your face, your spirit. Some of you have some of the most beautiful spirits because it was given to you, but because of life circumstances, like a candle in the wind, people have been trying to snuff it out because you think that's the right thing to do. And I'm here to tell you, you got a fire burning in you. They can't snuff that out. It's fortified by every breath you take. But if you want your strength back, you have to be courageous. That means ownership of who you are. I noticed I didn't say be the tough girl. Be the gangster bitch. Be the thought. No matter what your environment you saw, that's an illusion. Find your foundation. Make a point every day to remind yourself, I love me. I deserve to be loved. I trust my discernment, and I'm willing to do the work. If you're going through some emotional issues, I said this a long time ago. Check your pride at the door. Talk to a therapist. Get counseling. Find someone you can trust that does not have personal stakes in your day-to-day. So at a minimum, they can give unbiased truth. Now, I'm going to tell you this. You're going to be pissed the fuck off. Yeah, I said it. You're going to be pissed. Because you're going to start to assess your life. You're going to look at those people that you gave access to, the things that they conveyed and convinced you to do. And you're going to feel a certain kind of way. It's okay. It's okay. Grieve. Why are you in your 20s and you've got pain in your childhood? Don't you realize tears soothe the soul? You don't get a badge for being tough because you know you need to cry. All that does is ages you. Why do you think I got these bags, these wrinkles? Well, some of it's because of this, but a lot of it is because I thought if I just shut up, I'd suck it up, compartmentalize, because that's what society had told us as little boys. You have no emotions. And then you wonder why people are on the deep end. You wonder why we live in a world of schizophrenics and people that are bipolar, narcissists, and a lot of demonic shit. What's at stake is the real you, the little girl, the little boy that exists. You have people that won't do the work. I used to say all the time, misery is an endless table filled with seats waiting for you to sit down, because when you decide to sit down, your life stops. You're not a threat. And the behavior continues until you don't exist anymore. Think of it this way. In a town near you, city near you, state near you, worldwide, everybody is seeing that one senior person, geriatric, And you might talk to them in the beginning and they just evil, mean, blah, 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 blah. But you kind of know what respect is. You try to show respect and compassion. And slowly but surely they open up like a tight clam. And then you realize that they not only have no one to come by, but they got family. Those are the same people that refuse to do the work. They put their pride and ego first, only to be rewarded with distant memories and regret. That's not your story. It never was. You can change it. So I'm going to bring this home. There are going to be plenty of people that don't want you to be you. But you can't claim you until you decide to define what you need compared to what you thought you wanted. You want the one. Stop looking for him. Prepare for him. You want her, my kings? Be the man that knows the value of your legacy. What's at stake is your last name. The greatest responsibility that falls on your shoulders as a man is your last name. But let me tell you this, and I'm going to bring this home, and I'm shutting up. If they do not have a connection with their spiritual being, because you were spiritual before you were flesh, just know this. If a person doesn't know who they are, how can you find trust in where they're going? And if they don't know where they're going, how can you find comfort in where they're leading you? You deserve better. God's praying for you. You know I am. I see your worth. And for that, it helps me discern my... Y'all don't realize, in 20 years, there's going to be a major divide socially. There are going to be so many people that have yet to do the work. They're going to be looking wore down, tore out, and miserable. You know why they're miserable? They ain't miserable at you. They're going to be miserable because they regretted to claim themselves first. Be blessed.